When you look up at a massive skyscraper, you usually instantly obsess over the skyline, right? Like the reflective glass or just the sheer height of the spire.
Yeah, you definitely don't stare at the sidewalk.
Exactly. You never stare at the sidewalk and think about the foundational concrete pour. But today, for this deep dive, we are looking, well, directly at the concrete of human achievement.
Which is honestly where the real magic happens anyway.
It really is. So we're unpacking a deceptively simple piece of source material today to show you how auditing a really basic morning routine might actually be the absolute secret to mastering something incredibly complex, like a whole new language.
I mean, it sounds like a massive leap, right, to connect those two things, but the cognitive mechanics hidden inside the document we're looking at today are universally applicable.
They really are. And so the source material we have is literally just a script titled Talking About Daily Habits Docs. It's designed as an easy English conversation exercise.
Right, for language learners.
Yeah, and it features a dialogue between two characters named Lena and Jas. And on the surface, it's really just a casual chat between two people about how they start their days.
Very casual, almost basic, I'd say.
Right. But if we strip away that conversational wrapper, we aren't just looking at a standard English lesson, we are looking at a highly structured blueprint for behavioral architecture.
Absolutely. The text is deceptively simple, but the reason simple structures work so well in education is because they mirror how the human brain actually prefers to acquire and, categorize new information.
So the whole mission of this deep dive today is to extract the mechanics buried in that simplicity. Whether you are, actively trying to learn a new language or maybe pick up an instrument or just optimize how you move through your daily life.
We want to show you how Lena and Jas navigate the entire life cycle of habit formation.
Right, starting with how we physically wake up and seeing how that directly dictates our ability to acquire complex new skills.
Because, like you said, you cannot build the skyscraper without the concrete pour.
Exactly. So let's start with the concrete. Lena and Jas, they begin their entire conversation by focusing purely on general daily habits, like specifically zeroing in on morning routines.
Which is the baseline of human behavior.
Right. And what initially stands out to me is how uncompromising their dialogue is. It breaks behavioral patterns down into two distinct, rigid categories. So you have healthy habits and you have bad habits.
Yeah, there is absolutely no gray area in their chat.
No gray area at all.
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking about this in terms of technology. Like, a morning routine is essentially the boot up sequence of a computer.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it.
Right. So when Lena and Jas separate healthy habits from bad habits right at the start, are they basically asking us to hunt for glitches in our daily operating system before we try to, run any new heavy software?
I mean, the computer analogy is a really solid starting point, but we have to push it a bit further because human neurology is significantly messier than a MacBook.
Fair enough. It's not as simple as clicking a button.
Exactly. Unlike a computer, you don't have an uninstall button for a bad habit. You can't just delete a glitch from your brain.
Right, you can't just drag it to the trash.
No, human neurology requires you to actually overwrite the existing code. But you are absolutely right about the necessity of hunting for those glitches. That binary categorization in the script, healthy versus bad, it's a mechanism to force foundational awareness.
Because normally we just love to live in the gray area, don't we?
Oh, we rationalize everything.
We really do. We tell ourselves that, hitting the snooze button 3 times isn't a bad habit. It's just self-care because we stayed up late.
We rationalize constantly. But the script strips all of that away to highlight the cognitive load of our mornings. I mean, think about the basal ganglia.
A part of the brain that does the automatic stuff, right?
Spot on. It's responsible for automatic behaviors. In the first 30 to 60 minutes of your day, your basal ganglia is basically running the show.
Right, you're barely awake.
Exactly. So if your automatic behaviors consist of, let's say, doom scrolling on your phone in bed, staring at stressful news, or just rushing around looking for your keys.
Which I do way too often.
Right, we all do. But those are all high-friction, neurologically taxing activities. They literally spike your cortisol. They drain your executive function right out of the gate.
So by the time you actually sit down to do something productive, you've already depleted your battery.
Exactly. Your morning routine is prime cognitive real estate. You cannot introduce a high cognitive task like dedicating mental energy to learning a foreign language without first auditing that real estate.
So if your morning is occupied by these draining automatic behaviors, your prefrontal cortex, which is the part you need for complex stuff.
Yeah, the part of the brain you absolutely need for learning complex syntax or problem solving, it's exhausted before you even eat breakfast.
Wow.
So Lena and Jas are forcing the listener to categorize their habits because you cannot overwrite a bad habit until you boldly label it as malware.
That completely reframes the whole concept of a morning routine for me.
Yeah.
It's less about just being productive and more about aggressively protecting your cognitive battery.
Precisely.
Think about your own morning right now as you're listening to this. The alarm goes off. What are the next 5 things you do automatically without even thinking?
That's the real test.
Right. Are those behaviors serving your larger goals? Or are they quietly draining your capacity to learn anything new that day?
It is a vital audit. And the script requires this audit because the rest of their conversation, the actual acquisition of the new skill, completely hinges on having a clean, functional morning routine to build upon.
You have to clear the brush before you plant the seeds.
Exactly.
Which brings us to, honestly, the most fascinating transition in the source material. Once Lena and Jas establish how routines work, and they force this audit of good versus bad habits, the conversation shifts.
Right, it moves away from general self-help.
Yeah, into the specific realm of education. They explicitly transition to discussing English learning habits, and they introduce the idea of integrating useful daily expressions.
Yes.
But I have to push back on this premise just a little bit because I am really struggling to see how this translates to actual real-world fluency.
Okay, what part of the translation feels disconnected to you?
It just feels a bit like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. Learning a language is universally understood to be this massive, intimidating academic mountain.
It definitely feels that way to most people.
Right. It takes years of study, immersion, understanding complex grammar structures. How does just saying good morning or how did you sleep actually help someone master complex English syntax? Doesn't framing language acquisition as just another daily habit drastically oversimplify what it actually takes to become fluent?
I get why you'd think that, but it is not an oversimplification. It is actually a neurological bypass.
A bypass. How so?
Well, the reason most adults fail to learn a second language is exactly because they view it the way you just described it, a massive, intimidating academic mountain.
Because it is.
Sure, but when you frame a goal as a mountain, your brain reacts to it as a threat. The amygdala literally signals that this task will require a massive depletion of energy, and your brain is evolutionarily wired to conserve energy.
Oh, wow. So you experience massive friction.
Huge friction. You procrastinate, you download a language app, you use it for 2 days, and then you just ignore the notifications for 6 months.
Guilty. Yeah, I've done exactly that.
We all have, because you are relying entirely on willpower. You think, I must sit at my desk for 2 hours after work, open a textbook, and suffer through verb conjugation.
And willpower is finite.
Willpower is a highly finite resource. By the end of the workday, your willpower is entirely gone. What Lena and Jas are introducing with these useful daily expressions is a concept known in behavioral psychology as habit stacking.
Habit stacking. Okay. Meaning you take a new, fragile habit and you just glue it to an old, rock-solid habit.
Exactly. Instead of fighting your brain's desire to conserve energy, you hijack the automatic behaviors controlled by your basal ganglia.
Okay, give me an example of how that works in practice.
Well, you already have a rock-solid habit of making coffee every morning. That is a concrete reality in your daily routine. If you attach a single useful daily expression to the act of brewing that coffee, you completely bypass the need for willpower.
Because the coffee is happening no matter what.
Right. You don't need to carve out a new 2-hour study block. You just let the trigger of smelling the coffee prompt the retrieval of the English phrase.
I see. So the script is essentially saying that instead of treating language like an academic subject you study, you have to treat it like a lifestyle choice you integrate.
Yes, and neurologically, this is how we actually build robust synaptic connections. You mentioned earlier that learning a few daily expressions feels like a Band-Aid, that it doesn't lead to mastering complex grammar.
Yeah, because it feels too basic.
But that misunderstands how the brain absorbs language. The brain does not learn language efficiently through brute force memorization of grammar rules. It learns through contextual repetition.
Like how toddlers learn, right? They don't study subject-verb agreement.
Exactly. They don't have textbooks. They just repeat phrases until the underlying rules naturally click into place.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's ambient learning. When you integrate a useful expression into your daily routine, you are practicing what cognitive scientists call spaced repetition.
Space repetition.
You are encountering the language in brief, highly relevant contexts over and over. This is literally compound interest for your vocal cords and your synapses. Small, daily neurological deposits that multiply over time.
And then the grammar just sort of sorts itself out.
The structural rules of the language begin to reveal themselves organically, because you are using the expressions in real-world context, not in some sterile classroom environment.
That makes perfect sense. It removes the fear factor entirely.
Yeah.
You aren't studying English today.
Yeah.
You're simply using an English phrase to ask your partner to pass the butter at breakfast.
Exactly. It's non-threatening.
I love that.
Yeah.
So look at how you consume information and tackle your own intimidating goals. What is the massive mountain you are staring at right now?
Right. Think about it.
How can you break that daunting objective down into your own version of useful daily expressions? How can you weave those micro components into the healthy habits you already perform on autopilot?
And that question bridges the gap between understanding the psychology and actually changing your life.
Right.
Because knowing that you should audit your morning routine and, understanding the neuroscience of habit stacking, it's still just theory. And theory alone does not rewire your brain.
Right. If the script just ended there, it would just be an interesting philosophical discussion. But Lena and Jas, they actually introduce a specific mechanism to force action.
They do.
The climax of their dialogue is the introduction of a 7-day habit challenge.
Yeah.
They put a structured time frame on everything they've just discussed.
This is where the behavioral architecture is fully realized. They introduce a catalyst to overcome the inertia of starting.
But let's look at that catalyst critically for a second, because a 7-day habit challenge is ubiquitous on social media right now. It's everywhere.
It is very trendy, yes.
It feels a bit like a free trial for a new personality. Like you hype yourself up, you participate for a week, you feel very productive, and then the challenge ends and you immediately revert back to your old behaviors.
That happens all the time.
So I have to ask, from a psychological standpoint, is 7 days actually enough time to build a genuine lasting habit? Or is this just a motivational gimmick to trick people into starting?
It is undeniably a trick, but it is a highly effective, scientifically sound trick.
Really?
Yeah. Let's be clear, 7 days is absolutely not enough time to cement a lifelong habit, nor is it enough time to achieve fluency in a language.
Obviously not.
Depending on the complexity of the behavior, true habit formation can take anywhere from 21 to over 200 days.
Over 200 days. So if we know it takes months to build a real habit, why does the script specifically advocate for a 7-day challenge? Why not like a 30-day or a 90-day challenge?
Because of the activation energy required to begin.
Activation energy.
Yeah, so in physics, activation energy is the minimum amount of energy required to initiate a chemical reaction. In behavioral psychology, it is the mental effort required to start a new task.
Okay, I follow.
If Lena and Jas proposed a 90-day language mastery journey, the activation energy required would be massive. The listener's brain would instantly calculate the immense effort required. The amygdala would perceive that long-term commitment as a threat to its energy reserves.
And the result would be instant paralysis.
Exactly.
The mountain becomes too big to climb, so you just don't even put your boots on.
Precisely. The 7-day time frame is a deliberate mechanism to dramatically lower the activation energy. It bypasses the brain's defense mechanisms entirely.
Because it's so short.
Exactly. The brain looks at a 7-day commitment and calculates that the energy expenditure is minimal. It doesn't trigger the fear response. It just feels like a low-stakes game. Because, honestly, anyone can endure almost anything for a single week.
It completely lowers the barrier to entry. It makes the task feel so small that you almost feel ridiculous refusing to try it.
And that is the secret. The 7-day challenge is not designed to create a permanent habit. It is designed to manufacture momentum.
Momentum.
Right. It forces the practical physical application of everything we just analyzed. For 7 consecutive days, you have to wake up, monitor your boot up sequence, consciously override a bad habit, perform a healthy habit, and stack a useful daily expression on top of it.
So you are stepping out of the audience and actively getting onto the stage. You stop passively consuming advice and start generating your own data.
Generating data is the perfect way to phrase it. Passive consumption is the absolute enemy of skill acquisition. We trick ourselves into feeling productive by listening to deep dives or reading articles about habits.
Friends and company excluded, hopefully.
Right. But no actual neurological rewiring occurs until you perform the action. The 7-day challenge forces you to generate real-world evidence that you are capable of altering your behavior.
And when you succeed.
When you successfully complete the week, your brain receives a significant hit of dopamine. That dopamine acts as a reward signal, reinforcing the new synaptic pathways you've started to build.
You prove to yourself that the concrete can actually be poured, and once you have that solid foundation of a successful week, the momentum makes it infinitely easier to carry that behavior into day 8, day 20, and eventually day 200.
Exactly. The friction of starting is gone because you're already in motion.
It is an incredibly elegant system. The script takes the overwhelming chaos of self-improvement and distills it into an executable formula, like audit the morning, overwrite the malware, stack the microhabit, commit for 7 days to bypass the brain's resistance.
It's brilliant.
So let's pull back and look at the whole picture we've uncovered today. We started with a document that is fundamentally designed as an easy English conversation. Lena and Jas are just two characters chatting about their mornings.
On the surface, yes.
Right. But embedded in that casual dialogue is a rigorous, scientifically sound methodology for human achievement. They don't start with the complexity of grammar. They start with the absolute baseline of our days, the clash between our healthy and bad morning routines.
Because they understand that you cannot sustain complex learning on top of a chaotic foundation.
From there, they seamlessly introduce the mechanics of acquiring a new skill. They don't advocate for brute force memorization. They advocate for the integration of useful daily expressions, turning a massive academic mountain into a series of highly manageable, contextual micro-habits.
It's all about habit stacking.
And finally, they lock the entire system into reality by introducing the 7-day challenge, artificially lowering the activation energy required so that the listener has no excuse but to take immediate action.
It just proves that the secret to achieving massive, daunting goals isn't about finding more hours in the day or suddenly summoning superhuman willpower.
No, not at all.
It is about understanding the mechanics of your own brain. It is about maximizing the efficiency of the mundane routines you already execute every single morning. This script functions as a universal blueprint. You can extract the word English from this formula and replace it with coding, painting, writing, or physical fitness, and the behavioral architecture holds up perfectly.
Which leaves us with the most important question for you. How are you going to use this blueprint? Think about your own foundational concrete. Think about the boot up sequence that triggers the moment your alarm goes off. If you were to launch your own highly specific personal 7-day habit challenge starting tomorrow morning, what is the single, tiny, seemingly insignificant micro-habit you would choose to stack onto your existing routine? And how might that one small change completely alter the trajectory of your entire year?